The sun rose over the mansion, casting golden light across the garden and the tall windows. Mina woke early, feeling a mixture of excitement and purpose. Over the past weeks, the mansion had transformed from a dusty, abandoned building into a home filled with life, discovery, and history. The basement, once dark and mysterious, had become a place of learning and curiosity for both Mina and Aaron. The documents, the notebook, and the hidden safe had all revealed parts of the mansion's past. But Mina knew there was one final step. Returning the pendant to its rightful owner, Mina began her search carefully. She remembered the records she had found at the library and the hints from neighbors. One family in particular matched the description. The pendant had belonged to their grandfather, who had once lived in the area before the mansion was abandoned. Mina felt a mixture of nervousness and hope. She wanted to ensure that she returned the item with respect and care. She gathered the pendant, wrapped it in soft cloth, and left the house early in the morning with Aaron by her side. The journey through the quiet streets was peaceful. Birds chirped, and the sunlight reflected off the leaves of old trees lining the path. Aaron held his mother's hand tightly, sensing her anticipation. Mina explained gently that they were going to return something very important. "Someone waited a long time for this, Aaron," she said. The boy nodded solemnly, his small eyes wide with understanding. Mina felt proud of him. She realized that this journey was about more than returning an object. It was about restoring trust, honesty, and connection. Finally, they arrived at a modest home on the edge of town. Mina knocked gently on the door. An elderly woman opened it, her eyes curious and kind. Mina smiled and introduced herself. She explained that she had found a pendant that had belonged to the woman's family many years ago, hidden in the mansion she now owned. The woman's eyes widened as Mina showed the pendant. She held it carefully, her hands trembling slightly. "This belonged to my grandfather," she whispered. "He disappeared long ago. No one ever knew what happened to this." Tears filled her eyes. Mina felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had helped bring closure to someone who had waited for decades. The woman thanked Mina repeatedly, and Aaron smiled proudly at his mother. Returning home, Mina felt lighter. The mansion, once filled with secrets, had now given her a sense of purpose. She looked at Aaron, who ran ahead to play in the garden. The flowers she had planted were beginning to bloom, adding color and life to the estate. The mansion was no longer just a home. It had become a place of stories, history, and new beginnings. Mina felt a deep sense of gratitude. She realized that her decision to buy the mansion had been more than a chance for a better home. It had been an opportunity to connect with the past and shape a brighter future. Over the next few weeks, Mina and Aaron continued restoring the mansion. The broken windows were replaced, floors were polished, and walls were painted. The garden was cleaned and replanted with flowers and small shrubs. Neighbors, curious about the renovations, offered to help. Some brought plants, others shared tools or offered advice. Mina felt a warm connection to the community. The mansion, once feared and avoided, had become a symbol of hope and courage. People admired her determination and honesty. Mina felt proud not only of her work, but also of the example she was setting for her son. Inside the mansion, Mina organized the documents, letters, and photographs she had found. She decided to keep some for historical purposes and donate others to the local library, where they could be preserved and studied. She wanted to ensure that the stories of the mansion and its past inhabitants were shared respectfully. Aaron often sat with her, looking at the old photographs and asking questions. Mina explained the lives of the people in the pictures, the choices they had made, and the challenges they had faced. Aaron listened intently, learning about courage, responsibility, and honesty in ways that no classroom could teach him. One evening, Mina sat by the large fireplace in the living room, reflecting on the journey. The mansion had changed her life in ways she had never expected. She thought about the hidden safe, the pendant, the letters, and the documents. Each discovery had been a challenge, a puzzle, and a gift. She realized that the mansion had been waiting for someone patient, honest, and curious enough to uncover its secrets. Mina felt grateful that she had been that person. She also felt proud of Aaron, who had shared the adventure with her and learned valuable lessons about life and history. As the days passed, the mansion continued to transform. The once dark and abandoned halls were now filled with light, laughter, and activity. Aaron explored every room with excitement, imagining adventures and stories inspired by the past. Mina continued to restore each corner carefully, preserving the mansion's history while making it a comfortable home. The neighbors admired the changes and often stopped to chat or offer help. Mina felt a sense of community she had never experienced before. The mansion had become more than a home. It was a place where the past and present connected, where stories could live and where new memories could be created. One afternoon, Mina received a letter in the mail. It was from the family to whom she had returned the pendant. The letter expressed deep gratitude and explained how much the pendant meant to them. They wrote that the family felt peace and closure because of her honesty and care. Mina smiled, feeling warmth in her heart. She realized that her actions had made a real difference, not just for herself and Aaron, but for others as well. She showed the letter to Aaron, who beamed with pride. "Mom, you did something amazing," he said. Mina hugged him tightly, feeling a mixture of joy and pride. With the main discoveries resolved, Mina focused on creating a warm, welcoming home. She decorated the rooms with simple but comfortable furniture. She added colorful curtains, soft rugs, and cozy seating areas. Aaron helped by choosing small decorations and arranging toys in the playroom. The mansion, once a place of fear and mystery, now reflected their personalities, warmth, and hope. Mina realized that the home had become a symbol of her perseverance, courage, and love for her son. The mansion's history remained a source of inspiration. Mina occasionally showed neighbors and visitors the documents, photographs, and letters, explaining the stories behind them. People admired her honesty and dedication. The mansion became a quiet local attraction, not for fame or fortune, but as a place of learning and respect for history. Mina felt proud of the role she had played in uncovering and preserving its secrets. She understood that true courage and honesty had value beyond material wealth. The mansion had given her more than a home. It had given her a purpose. Weeks turned into months. The mansion became a place of peace and joy. Mina and Aaron settled into a routine, balancing work, school, and home life. The basement, once a source of mystery, became a small library and learning space for Aaron. They organized books, historical documents, and small treasures in a way that was both educational and inspiring. Mina often read the notebook entries aloud, discussing their meaning and the lessons they contained. Aaron learned about responsibility, curiosity, and integrity in a hands-on way. Mina felt proud of how the mansion had transformed their lives. One evening, as Mina stood on the balcony, she looked out over the garden and the surrounding neighborhood. The flowers were in full bloom, birds chirped in the trees, and the sun painted the sky with shades of orange and pink. She thought about the journey they had taken, buying the abandoned mansion, discovering the hidden safe, returning the pendant, and restoring the house. It had been a challenging adventure, but one filled with meaning and growth. Mina realized that every step, every discovery, had brought her and Aaron closer together and connected them to the past in a way that was deeply meaningful. Mina returned inside and found Aaron playing quietly in the living room. She smiled and joined him, sitting on the floor and watching him arrange his toys. She realized that the mansion had given them not only a home, but also a space to dream, explore, and grow. Each room held memories of the past and possibilities for the future. Mina felt a sense of fulfillment she had never experienced before. The mansion, once abandoned and feared, had become a place of hope, learning, and love. As the night fell, Mina tucked Aaron into bed. She kissed his forehead and whispered softly, "We have a new beginning here, Aaron. This is our home, and we will make it a place of happiness." Aaron smiled in his sleep, clutching his blanket. Mina stayed by his side for a few moments, reflecting on how far they had come. The mansion had given her more than she could have imagined: a home, purpose, history, and a deeper connection to her son and the world around her. Mina returned to the living room. Sitting by the fireplace with a cup of tea, she thought about the hidden safe, the documents, and the pendant. Each discovery had been a lesson in patience, courage, and honesty. She realized that life, like the mansion, sometimes held hidden treasures and secrets, waiting for someone willing to explore and care for them. Mina felt a deep sense of peace. The mansion was no longer a place of fear or mystery. It was a home filled with warmth, learning, and hope for the future. From that day on, Mina and Aaron continued their lives in the mansion, embracing its history while creating their own memories. The morning sun fell softly through the tall, dusty windows of the mansion. Mina woke early, her mind still buzzing with thoughts about the house. She looked at Aaron sleeping peacefully beside her and felt a wave of gratitude. Despite the challenges of moving and the long day ahead, she felt proud that she had taken this step. The mansion was hers, and for the first time in years, she felt a sense of possibility. After breakfast, Mina began exploring the house more carefully. There were so many rooms she had not fully examined. She wanted to make a list of repairs and figure out where to start. Aaron ran around in excitement, pointing at every corner as if discovering a magical world. He had already found a hidden nook behind the curtains where he pretended to hide from imaginary pirates. Mina smiled at his imagination, glad that he could already feel at home. As Mina moved from room to room, she noticed small signs that made her pause. A window that she had closed the night before was slightly open. A chair that she had left in the center of the room was now turned against the wall. At first, she thought it was her own forgetfulness. The house was big, and it was easy to lose track of things. Yet a strange feeling settled in her chest, a mixture of curiosity and unease. She remembered the basement door at the end of the hallway. It had stood there silently, dark and locked. She could not stop thinking about it. Mina decided she would inspect the area near the door more carefully today. As she approached, she noticed a small scratching sound, faint but distinct, coming from the walls near the basement. Aaron stopped playing and listened, tilting his head. Mina frowned. The noise was not continuous. It appeared every few seconds, almost like a soft tapping. She bent down and ran her fingers along the edges of the door frame. There were no signs of an animal or any damage. The lock looked old, but intact. She touched the cold metal handle and pressed her ear against the door. Nothing, only silence. Mina stood up and shook her head, trying to tell herself it was the wind or the settling of the house. Still, a small part of her wondered what was behind the door. While she was inspecting the basement, Aaron ran to another corner of the hall, holding something in his hands. It was a small metal box, dusty and worn. Mina took it from him and examined it carefully. The box had no lock, but was very light, as if it had been hidden for a long time. She opened it slowly and found a folded piece of paper inside. Mina carefully unfolded the sheet. It was a hand-drawn map of the house. Every room, every door, and every hallway was marked. One section had a circle drawn around the basement with a short note that read, "Do not trust what you see. Find the truth." Mina's heart began to race. Who had left this here? She looked around the empty hallway, half expecting someone to be standing there. No one was. She took a deep breath and placed the map and note in her pocket. The house suddenly felt larger and quieter, as if it was waiting for her to uncover its secrets. After breakfast, Mina decided to ask a neighbor about the mansion. She had noticed a few people walking in the area during her first visit. One man, Rami, seemed to know a lot about the neighborhood. She walked down the street and saw him tending to a small garden outside his house. He was an older man, with gentle eyes and a kind smile. Mina greeted him politely and asked if he could share any information about the mansion. Rami looked at the house from a distance, his expression changing slightly. He lowered his voice and said that the mansion had a mysterious past. People whispered about it for years, about the previous owner and the secrets left behind. Some stories claimed that important things were hidden in the house before it was abandoned. Mina asked what kind of things, but Rami shook his head. Not everything is known, he said. Some things are better left alone. But you seem brave, Mina. You have courage to live here. Mina thanked him and walked back, feeling a mixture of excitement and unease. She believed in facing challenges, but now she sensed that the house might hold more than just old furniture and dusty rooms. The idea of hidden secrets made her pulse quicken. She wondered what she would find and whether she was ready to uncover the truth. That evening, she decided to spend more time near the basement door. She cleared the area, swept the dust away, and examined the walls and floor. Mina noticed small scratches around the lock, as if someone had tried to open it recently. Her curiosity grew stronger. She could not shake the feeling that the basement was the key to understanding the mansion's secrets. Aaron, playing nearby, tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, I hear it again," he said. Mina paused and listened. The scratching sound came again, soft but noticeable. It seemed to be coming from inside the walls near the basement. She crouched down and pressed her ear to the wall, but only silence followed. Aaron held her hand tightly, sensing her own nervousness. Mina smiled at him and said, "It's okay. Just the house settling. Nothing more." Yet she could not fully convince herself. Over the next few days, Mina explored other parts of the mansion. She opened cupboards, checked the attic, and went through old drawers. She discovered letters, old furniture, and photographs. Many of the items belonged to the previous owner's family or workers. Some photographs showed large gatherings, parties, and celebrations. Mina felt a strange connection to the people who had lived here, imagining their lives and stories. One afternoon, while cleaning a small study, Mina discovered another hidden object. Behind a loose floorboard, she found a metal ring attached to the floor. She pulled gently and discovered a shallow compartment containing another set of papers. These papers included sketches, notes, and references to a small safe hidden somewhere in the basement. Mina felt a thrill run through her. Could it be possible that the basement held something important? She carefully placed the papers in her bag, her mind racing with possibilities. Night fell, and the mansion became quiet. Mina prepared dinner for Aaron and herself. As they ate, she shared some of her discoveries with him. Aaron listened with wide eyes and excitement. "Mom, maybe there is treasure," he said. Mina laughed softly. Maybe, Aaron, or maybe just stories waiting to be told. She felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. She could not explain why, but the house seemed to want her to find its secrets. That night, Mina sat near the fireplace, looking at the basement door. She felt the cool draft coming from the cracks in the floorboards. Something about the house had changed. It felt alive, as if it had been waiting for someone to understand it. She thought about the map, the notes, the hidden papers, and the small safe mentioned in the sketches. She realized that her quiet life was about to change in ways she could not imagine. The next morning, she decided to investigate the basement more seriously. She cleaned the area around the door and examined the lock carefully. The lock was old and rusted in parts, but it looked strong. She wondered how she would open it safely. Mina made a list of tools and decided to call a locksmith the next day. The curiosity in her heart was stronger than her fear. She had to know what lay behind the heavy door. During the day, neighbors passed by and greeted her. Some were curious about her moving into the mansion. A few whispered about the old stories, about how the mansion had been empty for years. Mina smiled politely, but she did not share the papers or the notes she had found. She kept her discoveries private. Something told her that the mansion's secrets would reveal themselves in time. As evening approached, Mina noticed small details she had not seen before. The walls had faint markings, almost like someone had written something long ago and tried to erase it. The air smelled faintly of old wood, earth, and dust. Shadows stretched across the rooms, giving them a strange but intriguing beauty. Mina felt like an explorer discovering an untouched world. Aaron played nearby, his laughter echoing, giving her courage. Before going to bed, Mina and Aaron sat by the window. The moonlight fell softly across the hall, casting long shadows. Mina thought about the map, the notes, and the hidden compartment. She felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Tomorrow, she would take another step. She would start searching for the secrets hidden in the basement. Mina felt that she was ready. Somehow. She knew that discovering the truth would change their lives forever. She tucked Aaron into bed and whispered softly, "Tomorrow we find the truth, Aaron, and we will be ready for it." The boy smiled in his sleep. Clutching his small blanket, Mina stayed by his side for a few moments, thinking about all the things that could happen. She did not know what waited behind the basement door, but she felt courage rising within her. She believed that whatever she found, she would handle it. Finally, Mina lay down on her mattress. Her eyes closed slowly, but her mind remained awake. She imagined the rooms, the hidden compartments, the old papers, and the small safe. She imagined uncovering secrets that had been locked away for years. For the first time, she felt that she was part of a bigger story, one that connected the past and the future. The mansion was no longer just a building. It had become a place full of mystery, waiting for her to unlock it. Mina drifted to sleep, dreaming of the discoveries that awaited her. The morning sun cast long shadows across the old mansion. Mina woke early, her mind restless. For several days now, the basement door had been on her mind. The locked door at the end of the hallway was no longer just a part of the house. It had become a symbol of mystery, a puzzle she had to solve. Aaron stirred beside her, yawning and stretching. Mina smiled softly. She had never seen her son so curious about a house before. Every day he seemed more fascinated by its rooms, its shadows, and its quiet corners. After a simple breakfast, Mina walked through the hallways again, her eyes fixed on the basement door. She noticed the small scratches on the lock and the faint marks around the frame. Someone, she realized, had tried to open this door before. But who and why she did not know, and the thought made her both nervous and excited. She ran her hand across the cold metal handle. It would not budge. Mina sighed, but smiled. This challenge felt like the start of a real adventure. She decided she needed help. Mina called a local locksmith, known for handling old locks. The locksmith, a friendly man named Tarek, arrived the next morning. He carried a small toolbox and wore gloves that had seen many years of work. He examined the door carefully, turning the lock, pressing the edges, and tapping the metal gently. "This is old work," Tarek said. "The lock has been here for decades. Whoever installed it wanted this room to stay closed." Mina nodded, her heart beating faster. "I think it is time to see what is inside," she said. Tay prepared his tools and worked slowly. The lock resisted at first, but with patience, a click echoed through the hallway. Mina and Aaron stepped back, holding their breath. The door creaked loudly as Tarek pushed it open. A rush of cold air spilled out from the basement. The air smelled of damp earth, old wood, and dust that had remained untouched for years. Mina wrapped her sweater tighter around her. Aaron held her hand tightly, looking at the darkness below. The basement was larger than she expected. Old shelves leaned against the walls, some broken, some still standing. Wooden crates were stacked in uneven piles. Dust floated in the sunlight, streaming through a small window near the top of the wall. The room felt abandoned, yet it had a strange order. Something about it felt intentional. Mina took a deep breath and stepped inside, careful not to trip on the uneven floorboards. Aaron followed, his eyes wide. "Mom, look at all this," he whispered. Mina smiled and nodded. She could see why people had said the mansion was mysterious. This basement had been sealed for a reason. Every corner, every crate, every shadow felt like it was guarding something important. Mina's curiosity grew stronger. She had to know what had been hidden here for so long. They began to explore the room carefully. Mina checked the crates, opening a few to find old books, newspapers, and household items left behind by the previous owners. Aaron found a small wooden toy and held it up proudly. "Mom, it's like treasure," he said. Mina laughed softly, feeling a warmth in her chest. The basement was not just a dark room. It was a connection to the past, a place full of stories waiting to be discovered. As she moved toward the far wall, Mina noticed something unusual. One section of the wall looked newer than the rest. The plaster was smooth, almost fresh compared to the cracks and peeling paint around it. She tapped the wall lightly and heard a hollow sound. Mina's heart raced. Could this be another hidden compartment? She pressed harder and realized that the wall shifted slightly under her hands. Aaron watched silently, sensing her excitement. Mina stepped back and examined the area closely. Behind the plaster, there seemed to be another door, smaller and made of thick metal. The idea of a secret room within the basement sent a shiver down her spine. She looked at Aaron and said, "I think there is something else here." "Something hidden," Aaron nodded, his small hand gripping hers tightly. Mina felt a mix of fear and courage. She had already come this far. She could not stop now. Tay examined the smaller door. "This is very strong," he said. "It was built to be hidden and secure. Whoever made this wanted to keep whatever is inside safe for a long time." Mina nodded, determination in her eyes. "We have to open it," she said. Tarek agreed but warned her to be careful. The door had a complex lock that might take time. Mina felt impatient but understood that rushing could ruin everything. After careful work, Tarek managed to unlock the door. A loud click echoed in the basement. Mina held her breath as he slowly pushed the door open. Inside, a small room appeared. It was empty, except for a wooden table at the center. Dust covered the surface, but something on the table caught Mina's attention immediately. A leather-bound notebook lay neatly in the middle. The room smelled of old wood and sealed air. Mina stepped forward cautiously. She opened the notebook carefully. The pages were filled with handwriting, neat and careful, yet full of emotion. The words spoke of fear, pressure, and secrecy. It was clear that the person who wrote this had lived in this house during a time of difficulty. The notebook described hidden compartments, secrets kept from the public, and the hope that someone honest would one day find the truth. Mina's hands trembled slightly as she turned each page. She felt connected to the writer, to the history of the mansion, to the mystery that had been hidden for years. Aaron, curious, peered over her shoulder. "Mom, what is it?" he asked softly. Mina smiled gently. "It's a story, Aaron. A story from the past. Someone left it here for a reason." The boy nodded, sensing the importance of the discovery. Mina continued to read page after page until she reached the final entry. It mentioned a small safe hidden under the floor. Her pulse quickened. The basement? The hidden room? The notebook saw of it was leading her to something important. Mina pressed her hands to the table, thinking. The notebook gave clues about the location of the safe. She looked around the room carefully. There were no obvious marks, but then her eyes fell on a faint outline in the floorboards near the corner. She knelt down and pressed gently. A small metal ring appeared, almost hidden. Her heart pounded. Could this be it? She called Aaron closer, and together they lifted the ring. Underneath was a square metal safe, heavy and cold. Mina's excitement mixed with fear. She had found what the notebook had promised. Tarek examined the safe and nodded. "This is old, but it looks intact. Whoever hid this wanted it protected." Mina carefully opened the safe, and inside she found several objects, bundles of documents sealed in plastic, a small velvet pouch, and a letter addressed to whoever found it. Mina's hands shook slightly as she picked up the letter. She read it aloud softly. The writer explained that the documents contained information meant to preserve truth and history. The velvet pouch held a pendant, a small object of personal value meant for someone's family. The writer hoped that one day, someone honest would find these items and bring closure to a part of the past. Mina looked at Aaron, who was staring in awe. "We found something very important, Aaron," she whispered. He nodded slowly, understanding in his small way. Mina carefully packed the notebook, the documents, and the pendant. She felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. This discovery was not just for her. It belonged to history, to someone who had waited years for it to be found. Mina realized that the mansion was more than just a home. It was a place of secrets, stories, and hidden truths. That evening, Mina contacted the local authorities. She explained what she had found and showed them the documents. The officers listened carefully, impressed by her discovery. They promised to handle everything responsibly and thanked her for her honesty. Mina felt relief and pride. She had faced fear, solved a mystery, and done the right thing. The mansion, once a place of shadows and silence, had revealed a part of its hidden story. Mina and Aaron returned to the living room, exhausted but happy. The day had been long, but they had uncovered something extraordinary. Mina looked around the basement, now filled with light from the windows. The shadows seemed softer, less intimidating. The house no longer felt just old and abandoned. It felt alive, filled with stories and memories waiting to be respected. Before sleeping, Mina sat by Aaron's side and whispered, "Tomorrow we will start restoring this house. But tonight We remember the story we discovered. It is part of our journey now." Aaron smiled in his sleep, holding his small blanket. Mina gazed at the moonlight shining through the tall windows. She felt hope, courage, and excitement for the days ahead. The mansion had changed her life, and she knew it had many more surprises in store. The next morning, Mina woke, feeling a mixture of excitement and responsibility. The hidden safe in the basement had revealed a part of the mansion's past, but she knew there was more to understand. Aaron had been talking about the discoveries all night, asking questions about the notebook, the pendant, and the documents. Mina smiled at his curiosity. She was glad he was interested, even though some parts of the story were complicated. This was a chance for both of them to explore something extraordinary together. After breakfast, Mina returned to the basement. She wanted to examine the safe more closely. Tarek, the locksmith, had already advised her to be careful, but she felt ready. The safe was heavy, made of cold steel, and clearly built to protect what was inside. Mina opened it slowly and carefully, revealing the contents once again. Bundles of documents, a velvet pouch, and the letter. She laid everything on the table, making sure nothing was damaged. Dust floated in the sunlight, giving the room an almost magical quality. Mina picked up the letter and read it again. The handwriting was careful, but emotional. The writer explained that the documents contained important records of the mansion, the family, and the financial dealings of the previous owner. Some of the documents were private, meant to preserve a part of history that had never been shared with the public. The letter explained that the small pendant in the velvet pouch belonged to a family member who had disappeared long ago. The writer had hidden these items in hopes that one day someone honest would find them and ensure they reached the right hands. Mina held the small pendant in her palm. It was simple, made of silver, with delicate engravings that had clearly been done by hand. She could feel the care and love that had gone into making it. She imagined the person who had owned it, holding it close during difficult times, hoping that it would survive. Mina felt a deep respect for the unknown writer. She promised herself that she would find the right family for the pendant. Aaron, fascinated by the documents, asked questions about each bundle. Mina explained gently that these papers were part of the mansion's history and were very important. She showed him the notebook and read some of the entries aloud. Aaron listened with wide eyes, fascinated by the idea that the house had secrets waiting to be discovered. Mina felt proud that her son was learning about courage, honesty, and curiosity through this experience. After carefully organizing the items, Mina decided to make copies of the documents before handing them over to the authorities. She contacted the local office and explained the situation. The officials were intrigued and grateful. They arranged for experts to review the papers and ensure that they were preserved correctly. Mina felt relieved. She had done the right thing by discovering the safe and protecting its contents. She also felt a sense of purpose. The mansion had given her more than a home. It had given her a role in uncovering history. Once the official matters were taken care of, Mina focused on the pendant. She wanted to find its rightful owner. The letter had mentioned that the pendant belonged to a family that had once lived in the area. Mina began asking neighbors quietly, describing the pendant, and asking if anyone knew the family. Some people remembered the mansion's old owners, while others had heard stories about a family that had lost a member long ago. Mina took notes and promised herself that she would continue the search until the pendant was returned. As the days passed, Mina and Aaron worked together to clean and organize the basement. They removed broken furniture, swept away dust, and set up boxes to store items that might be useful for the house. The work was tiring, but Mina felt a sense of accomplishment. Each step she took in restoring the basement was also a step in restoring a piece of history. She imagined the people who had once walked through these rooms, thinking about their lives, their stories, and the secrets they had left behind. One afternoon, Mina discovered something unusual while moving a crate. Behind it, partially hidden in a corner, was an old wooden chest. It was locked, but not with a metal key. Instead, it had a small latch that could be opened by sliding it in a specific way. Mina carefully examined the chest and realized it was another layer of the mansion's hidden past. She remembered the notebook's warning, "Do not trust what you see. Find the truth." Clearly, The mansion had been designed to hide things carefully. Mina felt a thrill of excitement. She had uncovered one secret, and now another appeared. With patience, she managed to open the latch. Inside the chest were several letters tied with ribbon and a small folded cloth containing more silver coins and jewelry. Mina handled each item gently, knowing that they had been kept safe for decades. She read the letters carefully. They were personal, filled with stories of family, love, and challenges faced long ago. Some letters mentioned the mansion and the hidden compartments. Mina realized that the mansion had been used as a safe place, a secret home for memories and valuables. She felt a deep connection to the people who had lived here. Their trust in preserving history had reached her. Mina decided to take these discoveries slowly. She documented each item, taking photographs and making notes. Aaron helped by holding the camera and organizing the small items into boxes. He was proud to be part of the discovery, and Mina was happy to share this moment with him. They worked together for hours, the basement now alive with activity. The mansion no longer felt abandoned. It was alive with the echoes of the past and the energy of the present. That evening, Mina sat near the fireplace with Aaron. She told him that the mansion had more stories to reveal and that they had only uncovered a small part. Aaron listened intently, his eyes wide with wonder. Mina felt a deep satisfaction. For the first time in years, she felt truly connected to a place. The mansion was no longer just a building. It was a living history, a treasure, and a home all at once. She realized that the discoveries were not only about objects, but about courage, honesty, and the importance of preserving memories. The next morning, Mina continued her search for the rightful owner of the pendant. She visited the local library and town records office, asking quietly about families connected to the mansion. She found references to a family that had once lived nearby, a family that had lost a member many years ago. She felt a sense of hope growing inside her. Perhaps she could return the pendant and bring closure to someone who had waited decades for this small piece of their history. Meanwhile, she and Aaron continued restoring the basement. They fixed broken shelves, cleaned the floors, and organized crates into neat rows. The room slowly transformed from a dark, abandoned space into a bright, organized, and welcoming area. Mina felt pride in the work. The basement, once a place of mystery and fear, was becoming a space of discovery and learning. She imagined future days spent exploring and perhaps finding even more secrets. The house had become a part of their lives, a place where history and the present met. One afternoon, Mina received a visit from Rami, the neighbor who had first told her stories about the mansion. He had heard about her discoveries and wanted to see for himself. Mina showed him the basement, the safe, the notebook, and the pendant. Rami was amazed. He praised her honesty and dedication. He said that many people would have kept the discoveries for themselves, but Mina had done the right thing. Mina felt humbled and proud. She realized that her actions had not only preserved history, but had also earned her respect in the community. As the day ended, Mina and Aaron sat on the stairs leading to the basement. They looked at the organized space, the light filtering through the windows, and the small treasures they had uncovered. Mina felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The mansion, once dark and abandoned, was now full of life, curiosity, and history. She whispered to Aaron that they were only at the beginning. There were more secrets waiting to be discovered, more stories to be told, and more mysteries to solve. Aaron nodded, his eyes shining with excitement. Mina smiled, knowing that together they could face whatever came next. Mina went to bed that night with a feeling of peace. The mansion had given her more than a home. It had given her purpose. She realized that the discoveries in the basement were not just about objects, but about understanding the lives of people who had once lived there. The mansion was teaching her about courage, responsibility, and the value of honesty. She closed her eyes, dreaming of the day when the pendant would finally reach its rightful owner and the mansion's secrets would be fully respected. Mina was a single mom who lived with her young son, Aaron, in a small 2-room apartment at the edge of the city. Every morning, she woke up before sunrise, prepared breakfast for her son, packed his small school bag, and then took a bus to the bakery where she worked. She spent long hours shaping dough, packing bread, and cleaning counters. The job was tiring, but she did it with patience because she wanted a better future for her child. Aaron was the most important part of her life, and every choice she made was for him. The city around her was always busy. Cars honked, people rushed to work, and shops opened early. Mina often walked through the same streets, the same markets, and the same bakery doors every day. Life repeated itself like a cycle, but she stayed hopeful. She believed that at some point, something good would come. She had told herself this for years, but she still waited for the day when her life would finally change. One afternoon, while she sat at the small table in her apartment, she scrolled through her old phone looking for cheaper used furniture. Her apartment was clean but worn out, and she wished she could make it a little more comfortable. She did not expect anything unusual, but then her eyes stopped on a listing that did not make sense. It's at a mansion for sale. Large property. Very low price. At first she thought it was a joke. Who sells a mansion at such a low cost? She opened the listing and read the description. The house was abandoned for years and needed repairs. The previous owner was mentioned with a name she had heard before. The mansion once belonged to a man named John Gotti, a figure with a complicated and famous past. Mina stared at the screen, confused. Why would a mansion with such a name attached to it be sold at a price she could nearly afford? She sat quietly and thought about it. The place must be old, damaged, or full of problems. Still, something in her heart whispered that she should at least visit it. Maybe the condition was not as bad as the listing described. Maybe the house was waiting for someone who was not afraid of its history. Maybe someone like her. The next morning, she called the number on the listing and spoke to a local agent. The agent sounded kind and agreed to show her the property later in the week. She felt nervous, but also strangely excited. She told no one about it because she did not want anyone telling her to forget the idea. She wanted to see it with her own eyes before deciding. When the day came, she took a bus with Aaron and reached the old neighborhood where the mansion stood. The road was lined with tall trees that had grown wild over the years. The air smelled of damp soil and fallen leaves. The neighborhood was quiet, and some houses looked old, but the area still had a peaceful charm. As they approached the mansion, Mina held her son's hand tightly. The mansion stood at the end of a long path. It was large, silent, and covered in dust. The once bright paint had faded, and vines crawled across its walls. The windows were tall, but stained with dirt and age. The front yard had patches of dry grass and a few stone statues that looked worn out. Even in this condition, the place felt grand. It was the kind of house she had only seen in movies. Aaron's eyes grew wide as he looked at the big building. The agent greeted them at the gate and unlocked it. He explained that the house had been empty for many years, and that people avoided buying it because of the name connected to it. Some people felt afraid, while others thought there might be hidden problems. Mina listened quietly. She felt a little uneasy, but she reminded herself that the past was gone. What mattered now was what she could build there for her family. She walked inside the mansion. The air was cool and still. The entrance hall had high ceilings, a wide staircase, and faded paintings on the walls. Dust covered everything like a thick blanket, but the beauty underneath was still clear. Wooden floors, tall pillars, and large rooms made the place feel like a forgotten treasure. Aaron ran around the hallway, his steps echoing on the floor. His laughter filled the empty space, making it feel alive again. Mina moved through each room slowly. Some rooms had broken windows. Some had peeling paint. Some were dark because the lights no longer worked. Yet every room had something special. A large kitchen with stone counters. A library with built-in shelves that reached the ceiling. A dining room with a chandelier hanging slightly crooked. She touched the wood, the walls, and the edges of old furniture left behind. She felt a strange pull in her chest. She imagined what it could look like with fresh paint and clean floors. She imagined Aaron playing in the big living room. She imagined baking bread in a clean kitchen with sunlight coming through the windows as she walked through the house. The agent mentioned a few things she had not thought about. There was a basement that was locked and had not been opened for years. There were also stories from the past about the mansion, but none were confirmed. Mina listened, but she told herself that stories were just stories. She believed that old houses carried memories that were not always harmful. After the tour, the agent gave her time to think. Mina walked outside and sat on a stone bench near the garden. Aaron ran around picking dried leaves and laughing at every butterfly he saw. She watched him with a soft smile. Her heart felt warm. She looked at the mansion again. It was old, tired, and forgotten, but she saw potential. She saw a chance. She saw a place where she and her son could start fresh. She whispered to herself that this might be her moment. Life had never given her something big before. She always had to work hard for every small comfort. But maybe this time, something was finally opening for her. She felt fear, but she also felt courage. She knew that nothing in life changed if she did not take steps toward it. Later that evening, she called the agent again. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke, but she said she wanted to buy the mansion. The agent sounded surprised but happy. They began the process. Mina sold a few small things she did not need, used her savings, and took a simple loan. It was not easy, but she managed it. She signed the papers a week later and held the keys in her hand. For the first time in a very long time, she felt pride in herself. The day she moved in, the sky was bright and clear. Mina packed their small belongings into a borrowed van. Aaron hugged his toys tightly, excited for the big new home. When they reached the mansion again, Mina stood at the entrance for a long moment. She breathed in deeply as if taking in her new life. The house looked the same as before, old and quiet, but now it belonged to her. She felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had never owned anything big before. She had never imagined a mansion in her life. Yet here she was, holding the keys to one. She walked inside with Aaron. They placed their bags in the living room. Mina opened the windows to let fresh air in. Dust floated through the sunlight like tiny golden specks. The house smelled old, but it no longer felt empty. She felt the presence of her own hope filling the space. She told herself that no matter how many repairs the house needed, she would handle it step by step. Aaron explored every corner with joy, calling her name each time he found something new. A small balcony, a big mirror, a narrow storage room under the stairs. Mina followed him around, smiling each time he laughed. She wanted him to feel safe and happy here. This place was now their home, and she wanted it to become a warm one. That night they slept on mattresses on the floor. The rooms were large and the silence felt different. Mina listened to the wind outside and the distant sound of leaves brushing against the windows. She felt a mixture of peace and nervousness. She knew that old houses sometimes made strange noises, and she told herself not to worry. She wrapped her blanket around Aaron and whispered that everything would be fine, before closing her eyes. She looked at the hallway. One door stood at the end of it, slightly darker than the rest. It was the basement door. It had a very old lock, and the agent told her that no one had opened it in years. She glanced at it for a moment, wondering what it held. Maybe old furniture. Maybe empty shelves. Maybe nothing at all. She convinced herself that she would check it later. She did not know that the basement hid a piece of the past waiting to be found. She did not know that her simple decision to buy the mansion would pull her into a mystery that had remained untouched for many years. She did not know that the peaceful silence was only the beginning of something far more unusual than she ever imagined.